We are back with episode 3 of our Let's Play of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee on the Nintendo Switch, courtesy of Nintendo UK and the Pokemon Company. Thank you very much for allowing me to play these games early. My name is Peter Winnell. In the previous episode, we went to Route 22 to take on our rival for the second time in this game. In this episode, we are going to make our way through the dark depths of Viridian Forest all the way up to Pewter City, ready for our very first gym battle in these games. There are quite a few brand new Pokemon here in Viridian Forest to help you along with the very first gym battle. There's a few Pokemon that were previously encounterable in previous areas. Pokemon like Oddish and Bellsprout, they were available on Route 1 depending on which game you're playing. As well as Pikachu. Pikachu is your partner Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu. Pikachu is first encounterable in Let's Go Eevee here in Viridian Forest, but seeing as we've already spoken about it, I'm not going to cover it in this episode. The first Pokemon that is new to Viridian Forest, actually it's new to Route 2 technically, is going to be Caterpie, who we've just captured on screen right now. Caterpie is a Pokemon I would actually be able to recommend, especially for the first gym battle against Brock, if this was Fire Red, Leaf Green, Red, Blue or Yellow. Its final form, Butterfree, learns a whole host of really interesting attacks that makes the battle versus Brock tolerable. But unfortunately, because of the depth of Pokemon you can catch this early in the game, Pokemon like Oddish and Bellsprout, Caterpie isn't as useful, but I definitely like Caterpie. It's a very nice early game Pokemon to catch. It is also, because it's a bug type, able to evolve very quickly. Evolves at level 7 into Metapod. Metapod is a Pokemon that's also available here in Viridian Forest. If you're going to use Butterfree on your team, its final evolution, don't capture Metapod and evolve it. I'd highly recommend you capture Caterpie, and then evolve it into Metapod, and then evolve it into its final form, Butterfree, because Metapod is only going to learn the attack Harden. It's only going to have the attack Harden once you capture it. Its final evolution is Butterfree, and it is able to be found here in Viridian Forest. Due to the mechanics, it is actually just a touch harder to capture than you would really imagine based on previous encounters in this game thus far. It moves all over the screen, it's quite horrible to capture, but as I've already said, I like Butterfree. It learns some really cool Psychic type attacks that make the start of this game just a bit more tolerable, at least in previous games. That's my thoughts on it. There's two other brand new Pokemon evolution lines in Viridian Forest, first of which is going to be Weedle. Weedle isn't as useful as Caterpie's evolution line. It learns Poison Sting, which in previous Pokemon games would be an absolute nightmare to face against Wild Weedle. It would poison your Pokemon. It would just make it an absolute hassle to actually encounter it, but because you don't battle the wild Pokemon anymore, it makes it just a bit more tolerable. It evolves into Cocoon, which is also available in Viridian Forest, and as I've already said with Metapod, I don't recommend capturing Kakuna for any other reason than grinding experience. Capturing Pokemon that aren't previously registered in your Pokedex give you a lot more experience than you would otherwise. Beedrill is also available in Viridian Forest. It might be exclusive to Let's Go Eevee. Beedrill isn't as useful as Butterfree, at least in this game, and especially not early on. If we were talking about X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, or Sun and Moon or Sun and Ultra Moon, it would be a bit more useful because it gets a Mega Evolution starting from Auras. So unfortunately it's not as useful in this game, at least until you get Mega Stones. Then it's more useful. It's a fantastic glass cannon, but early on in the game it has a weakness to Brock's rock types. Not very useful. There's also one other Pokemon available in Viridian Forest, a Pokemon that I can really heavily suggest. It's Bulbasaur. I absolutely love Bulbasaur, and the fact that you can capture Bulbasaur here in Viridian Forest very early on in the game is incredible. It's somewhat of an uncommon capture, but if you run around Viridian Forest enough, you'll be able to encounter it. And by the way, this evolution screen is absolutely gorgeous. I had to evolve a Caterpie to be able to see this. It looks gorgeous. But Bulbasaur is an absolutely fantastic grass-type defensive Pokemon. It evolves into Ivysaur and then Venusaur at fairly decently low levels. It can definitely be a main anchor on your team for the entirety of this game. I will probably pick one up when the games fully come out, when the games fully release in November, because it's just a really great grass-type Pokemon to have. Plus, it has resistances to the first 4 gyms in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. Bearing in mind, the 4th gym is a grass-type gym, so yeah, that one doesn't count. But I can highly recommend Bulbasaur. Of course I can. It's a starter Pokemon. It has fantastic base stats. Highly recommend it, and it's fantastic you can capture it in Viridian Forest. So you guys might have seen just then, of course, I had to grind out some wild Pokemon, capturing some wild Pokemon to be able to evolve a Caterpie. I just wanted to see that evolution screen. And we also caught quite a few Pokemon to transfer them to the Professor to test out the candy mechanic. Now, in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, there's a brand new mechanic in terms of Eevee training called Candy. Candy you receive for transferring Pokemon, much like in Pokemon Go. The way it works from Pokemon Go is a little bit different though. Depending on your Pokemon's best stat, it will give you a specific kind of candy. So we transfer a Metapod, we get a defense candy, we get a tough candy, which if you feed your Pokemon enough of that specific kind of candy, you'll increase its base stat, which is not base stat. Yeah, it's base stat. You'll increase its base stat, and yeah, so our Pikachu is a little bit more buffed now. It's got a little bit more HP, it's got a little bit more defense, which is a really amazing mechanic, because you are going to be capturing a lot of Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and then transferring them. So I quite like that. One thing I do worry about just a little bit is maybe the money management, the money side of things. You get given 50 Pokeballs at the very start of the game to capture Pokemon, and as you defeat a ton of trainers, you'll get given Pokedollars and Pokeballs. We find 5 Pokeballs there, which is very useful. But I worry, as you're going to see a bit later on in this episode, we really struggle to capture Pokemon like Butterfree, stuff like that. And I worry that we're going to run out of Pokeballs and then Pokedollars. Now, you get given a ton of Pokeballs from trainers. In fact, one of the trainers you can beat, you get 36 Pokedollars, but 3 Pokeballs. So it's the equivalent of receiving 636 Pokeballs. 636 Pokedollars. Forgive me, my mind is everywhere right now. Which, for this period in the game, 636 Pokedollars worth of rewards is an incredible amount. So I hope it's going to be self-sustainable enough to the point that you never have to worry about Pokeballs. Because obviously, you're going to want to capture everything you can. Nidoran Male is learning Double Kick right here, which is an incredibly useful attack for the next gym leader, the first gym leader, Brock. And is it here? Yeah, there's a catch combo right there, catch combo of 2. There's a few people speculating whether catch combos really mean anything more than getting more XP, because I think you get an XP bonus based on your catch combos. So catching this Pidgey right here is going to mean our catch combo is going to be 3. Do we get more experience for this? I couldn't see in time. But Pidgey, we're on a catch combo of 3. Is this going to increase the ratio of shinies appearing in the overworld? Is that even possible based on the mechanic of like encountering Pokemon? I don't think it is. So I'm presuming that's purely experience based. I'll have to look in editing to see that, I guess. Now this I don't even think it's this Butterfree encounter in particular, but as you can see, we are throwing our Pokeballs wildly. We're throwing it over Butterfree's head, we're throwing it under Butterfree's torso. We're very inaccurate. Pokemon can move around. which is very different to Pokemon Go. At least in terms of like how easy it is to throw it at a Pokemon that's moving. In Pokemon Go, it's a very small screen, so all you have to do is just swipe it towards the Pokemon's location. It's very easy. With the Pokeball Plus, I really was struggling to aim accurately with it. So the way I'd throw it would be like this, which obviously that's not how you throw something. I know Lucy Candy Eevee has thrown it underarm. That might be the better way of doing it, but I was lobbing the Pokemon when I tried to do it underarm, so I don't know the best way of using the Pokeball Plus. In my honest opinion, the Pokeball Plus is a little bit finicky, at least to learn. So maybe when I'm more to grips with it, when I've got more experience with the Pokeball Plus, I'll find it incredibly easy to use, but at least right now I do struggle with it. So that's something to bear in mind if you're going to be purchasing the Pokeball Plus on release. Pokeball Plus does have very many more uses than just being a Pokeball. For Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, it obviously tracks your distance in Pokemon Go. It is a way of having a buddy Pokemon for Pokemon Let's Go, stuff like that, getting you more experience. So it's more practical than just capturing the Pokemon, but I do find it difficult to use it. But maybe when I am more used to it, it'll be easier to use. I just wanted to give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions on that. Now you're going to see this Butterfree, such a nightmare. It just disappears, it just runs away. So Pokemon can run away from you, which is such a nightmare because we wasted like 8 Pokeballs on that Butterfree, I think. Kind of sucks, but it's also quite cool. But you can see we've only got 7 Pokeballs now, which worries me. Are we going to run out of Pokeballs quite regularly based on a game? In a game that's based around like grinding wild encounters and capturing every single Pokemon you can? It worries me. It's like in Pokemon Go, where you run out of Pokeballs, and if you're in a rural area, it's going to take you forever to find a Pokestop to get even 3 Pokeballs. If you run out of Pokedollars, you're going to run out of Pokeballs, and you're not going to be able to capture any other Pokemon. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. I presume it's well balanced. Pokemon games are traditionally very well polished, and I can't see them really screwing that up too much. But at least it's not like Pokemon Go where you have to purchase more Pokeballs if you live in a rural area. You have to spend actual physical cash on Pokeballs. I don't know. But every single trainer in this area is actually incredibly easy to defeat. I didn't have any trouble in this area. You guys have probably seen quite a lot of Viridian Forest. Viridian Forest is the area that they chose to showcase in the E3 live demonstration, as well as also having playable demos at events such as EGX, the Pokemon World Championships. In fact, right now they have a running tour across the United States, starting from California, where you can play a demo of Let's Go Pikachu, and it's in Viridian Forest. So none of this stuff on the screen right now might be, like, none of it might be new to you guys, but hopefully my analysis is a little bit helpful. It's giving you a little bit of a guide on what you can expect. All in all, I quite like this area, and I like the diverse Pokemon you can find. Being able to find I guess Bellsprout and Oddish count as well, but being able to find Pokemon like Bulbasaur this early in the game, honestly, I'm a massive fan of it. Something people aren't a big fan of, and admittedly, neither am I, it seems like it's dumbing down the Pokemon experience just a little bit, is the fact that you have to have a grass type or water type Pokemon on your team to initially be able to enter the first gym, Brock's gym. I don't like that. I know that this is supposed to be a learning experience for people new to the Pokemon series, in particular Pokemon Go players, but that's something 20 years ago, 4-year-old me could figure out himself. And obviously there's been a massive backlash about that online, places like 4chan, Reddit, for good reason. It is maybe dumbing down the Pokemon series a little too much, but I do like how you can encounter Pokemon like Bulbasaur this early. It's nice having a diverse range of Pokemon to be able to capture and to be able to use on your team. Because these early game encounters I find to be very tiresome, just very boring. I don't want to have to use a Caterpie on my team every single time I play through the game. Having the option of maybe using Oddish is quite cool. It'll be interesting to see how diverse future wild areas are. I know, for example, Route 6, the route just above Vermilion City, the third gym city, you can capture Chansey, which is a really diverse freaking Pokemon to have in that area. So hopefully wild encounters are quite varied route to route. Here we are pretty much at the end of Viridian Forest. There's one last concern I do have, and it's how buffed Pikachu is and how buffed Eevee is, and the diverse elemental attacks that Eevee has. Eevee gets access to them very, very early on. So it has access to fire type attacks, electric type attacks, and water type attacks incredibly early on. And it could make the first few gyms an absolute breeze. It'll be interesting to see how well balanced they are. I'm hoping they are. It's the Pokemon Company. They typically do polish these games. There's one thing people can't complain about. It's how polished these games are. That's a few of my complaints though. I wanted to be honest and open with you guys. Overall, this demo so far, I freaking loved. I took my time with all of this. We are just about to enter Pewter City, so this is where we're going to end off this episode. A like on this episode would be really, really appreciated. Subscribe so there's no more of my future Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee videos, and I'll see you guys in my next episode where we're going to take on the first gym of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Peace out.